Your emotions are not the problem. The problem is that most people have never been taught how to work with them, so their emotions work against them instead. Today, we're going to change that because how you manage your emotional world determines almost every outcome of your external life. Hi, my name is Suzette. I'm a personal transformation and mindset coach. And this is one of the topics that I'm most passionate about because emotional intelligence is both massively undervalued and completely learnable. Nobody is born knowing how to regulate their emotions. It is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed at any age and at any stage of life. Emotional regulation is not suppression. It is the most important thing that I want you to understand today. Regulating your emotions does not mean pushing them down or pretending that they don't exist or performing calm when you don't feel it. Regulation means the ability to experience an emotion without being completely controlled by it. To feel anger without saying something that you'll regret. To feel fear without letting it make all your decisions. To feel sadness without disappearing into it. To feel excitement without making reckless choices on the back of it. Dysregulation is the opposite, and it looks like this. It's sending the email you shouldn't send. It's making the decision in the heat of the moment, and then you spend months undoing it. It's having the conversation at the wrong time in the wrong way because you couldn't wait. Avoiding something completely because the emotional charge around it felt too high to approach. Most of the decisions we most regret were made in a dysregulated state, not because we are irrational, but because a dysregulated nervous system genuinely has reduced access to the prefrontal cortex. And that's a part of your brain responsible for perspective, consequence thinking, and wise decision making. When you are flooded emotionally, you are literally operating with less of your brain, which is why waiting and creating any gap between the emotional trigger and the response is one of the most powerful skills in existence. There are 4 emotional patterns I see most often in my coaching work that quietly derails people's progress. See which one resonates with you. Pattern 1, emotional avoidance. This is when uncomfortable emotions are managed by not feeling them at all, through distraction, numbing, staying busy, scrolling, eating, drinking, and doing whatever creates distance between you and the feeling. The problem is that avoided emotions don't disappear. They go underground and influence your behavior from there, often in ways that are harder to see and manage than if you had just let them consciously be felt in the first place. Pattern 2, emotional flooding. That's the opposite of avoidance, where emotions arrive with such intensity that they immediately overwhelm your capacity to think clearly, respond proportionately, or access your own wisdom. People who flood tend to respond in ways that damage their relationships and outcomes, and then feel shame about the response, which creates more dysregulation. Pattern 3, emotional fusion. This is when you believe that you are your emotions. I am anxious rather than I feel anxiety. I am angry rather than I feel anger. That sounds like a small linguistic difference, but it's enormously significant when you are fused with an emotion. It defines you in the moment, and your options narrow to match. When you observe the emotion, I notice I feel anger, there is space, and in that space, choice is possible. Pattern 4, emotional reactivity. This is the pattern where external triggers, something somebody says, a disappointment, an unexpected setback, immediately produces a strong emotional response with almost no gap between stimulus and reaction. Reactivity is exhausting for the person experiencing it and damages relationships and outcomes considerably over time. Here are 5 tools that genuinely work, not just intellectually, but philosophically for emotional regulation. Tool 1, physiological sigh. A double inhale through the nose, short inhale, then a second short top-up inhale, followed by a long, slow exhale through the mouth. Let's quickly do it together. This specific breathing pattern activates the parasympathetic nervous system faster than any other breathing technique. It is the fastest way to move from dysregulation to a more regulated state available to you without any equipment. Do it twice and notice the shift. Remember, let's do it again. Tool 2. Name the emotions precisely. Research by neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman showed that labeling an emotion with specificity, not just I'm upset, but I'm feeling humiliated and scared, reduces activity in the amygdala and increases prefrontal cortex activity. Naming the emotion accurately actually changes your neurological state. The more precise, the more effective. Tool 3, the 90-second rule. Neuroscientist Jill Bolt Taylor found that physiological component of an emotion, the actual chemical response in the body, lasts approximately 90 seconds. If you don't fuel it without thought. The emotions that last longer than 90 seconds are maintained by our thinking, by the story we're telling about what happened. This means that if you stay in an emotion for 90 seconds without running into a story about it, it will begin to pass. Try it. It is harder than it sounds, but it's profoundly useful. Tool number 4, physical movement to complete the stress cycle. When you experience an emotional stress response, our bodies are flooded with cortisol and adrenaline, chemicals that were designed to fuel physical action like running or fighting. In modern life, we rarely discharge this through physical action, so it stays in the blood and continues to drive dysregulation. Even a brisk 10-minute walk, 20 jumping jacks, or shaking your body deliberately for 30 seconds can help discharge the stress cycle and return your nervous system to baseline faster. Tool number 5, the perspective prompt. Ask, what will this matter in 5 years, in 5 months, in 5 weeks? Not to dismiss what you are feeling, but to provide context your dysregulated brain cannot currently access. When you are flooded, everything seems like the most important moment of your life. The perspective prompt isn't about minimizing, it's about restoring proportionality. Emotional intelligence is not a fixed trait, it's a practice. And every time you create even a small gap between triggers and response, you are exercising the same important muscle in your transformation. You cannot build a life you want from a chronically dysregulated nervous system. Learning to work with your emotions rather than being driven by them or avoiding them is a foundation to everything else. In my next video, I'm going into something practical, how to have the hard conversations, the ones you've been avoiding, and why avoidance is always more expensive than a conversation itself. Subscribe so that you don't miss it. And if you want to work on emotional regulation with personalized support, my free breakthrough session is linked below. If this resonates, remember to like, subscribe, and comment. My emotions are not in charge. That way you and I can hold each other accountable for making this our best and most successful year yet.